I don't know about you, when I'm looking for a plumber, I like to read my reviews. HomeAdvisor.com gave me some reviews on our sponsor, Art of Plumbing. Called them. They arrived on time. Immediately found the plumbing issue and fixed it right the first time. I called them last year and it was great. I called them again this year because I had a problem again. They came out, they fixed the problem. They even gave me solutions to help stop the problem in the future at 541-9405. Welcome into Other People's Shoes. I, of course, am your host, Neil Matthews, and I'm so excited because I love this couple. Man, I'm just beaming with excitement. I love Joey and Crystal so much, and they were so great about letting me come into their home and interview them for this show. Now, I got to be honest with you. Some of the things you're going to hear, it's not necessarily mature in nature, but it just breaks my heart, some of the things that they've walked through, and they've kept a smile on their face the whole time. Okay, maybe not all the time, but you'll hear about that in the episode. I hope you're ready for it, because you know I am. So here we go.
Hey, come take a walk with me, not like you used to do. Do something different and put yourself in other people's shoes. Open up your mind and open up your eyes and change your direction, change your perspective.
Welcome into Other People's Shoes. I'm your host, Neil, and today I sit before me an amazing, awesome couple. I love these two very much. We have walked several years together on and off, and they are great family. You're going to probably hear their kids in the background, so fair warning. But I want to introduce first the wife. He would even say probably his better half even.
100%.
100%. Crystal, welcome. Crystal, how are you?
Good.
And Joey, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing well.
I know you are. How long have you guys been married?
We just celebrated last week our 15-year wedding anniversary.
15 years.
Yeah. Been together for 15 years, or married for 15 years. We dated for 2.5 years before that.
Wow. Do you remember the moment that you were like, okay, I got to seal the deal on this thing?
I don't remember the moment. No.
Okay.
It was a combination of several things, but it was between my junior and senior year of college, and it was like, all right, let's do some future planning here and lock this thing in. We had signing up for classes my junior year for the next year, senior year, and I knew I was taking a Christian marriage and family class, and so it all kind of just tied in beautifully into God's plan for sure.
That's awesome. Crystal, give us the mom stats because we're going to hear the kids in the background. So I know you have those just right top of mind, probably more so than Joey does, right?
The mom stats.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Like who everyone is?
Yeah.
We have Jocelyn, who will be 12 in a couple months. Jayla, who just turned 10. Joella, who is 5. And Josiah, who's 3.
Right. So did everyone do the math there? There's 1, 2, 3, 4 kids and Joey. So really 5.
Yeah, so my house is always dirty and I'm always tired.
Guys, thanks for doing this. I think there was who had more apprehension of doing this?
Oh, that's tough. We both had a fair amount of apprehension.
She's pointing at you.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was a little more wobbly on the decision.
Wobbly. I like it. I like the wobbly. That's awesome. Well articulated. So let's start with some fun stuff, right? And then we'll get into some deeper stuff. Shoe size. Because, we're talking about being in other people's shoes. So quite literally, we're going to try to get into your shoes today. So who wants to go first on that one? That's the easiest question we ask, by the way.
Well, it's something Joey and I disagree with every time Joey buys shoes. So let's let him
This
go.
is
Are
a
you
thing.
kidding me?
No, this is a thing.
like an argument almost? Wow. All right, I'm ready. Like, edge of my seat. I did not even know that was going to happen. This is why I love this show.
Let me just tell you this story.
Okay,
So
tell me
I
the story.
recently discovered Facebook Marketplace, and people post shoes
As
on
have I.
Facebook Marketplace.
I didn't know
right?
they sold shoes though. Now I am
Oh,
intrigued.
it's terrible.
Because you know my shoe affair. Yeah.
So
Okay,
I'm
go on.
also a really big cheapskate. And I found a pair of shoes that were my size. I know they're my size. I know I'm an 11 and a half. They are my size. I went to Ashland, picked them up from a gentleman, made a sketchy friend, and got them home.
How much did you pay?
$20.
Okay.
No,
All right.
was it 20 or 15?
I think, well, it doesn't matter.
Okay. I'm going to say $15 because that's a better deal. I got them home. They do not fit. But I squeezed my size 12 feet into those 11 and a half shoes
Is this a Cinderella moment?
For how long?
for a solid month and a half.
Because you couldn't tell Crystal that they didn't fit.
Absolutely.
Because
Because she's always said that you're a 12, not an 11 and a half.
That's awesome. So we're going to go somewhere between 11 and a half and 12, Joey?
You know, depending on the
brand.
The brand.
That's fair. Okay. People say that all the time. Do you have a certain brand you like?
New Balance.
Okay. You're a
New
New Balance guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Crystal?
I wear a 6.5.
You're like, I'm proud.
Yeah,
Proud to
that's-
admit it. 6.5. We're okay. All right. It's going to be a little tough to squeeze into. It's going to be like putting Joey in an 11 and a half shoe, apparently.
Yes.
Do you have a certain brand that you prefer?
Um,
Or a style maybe even, because I know girls, you girls have all kinds of styles and boots and
I am a fan of any shoe that I don't have to tie. I'm lazy.
Are you rocking some Velcros?
No.
Okay, not
That
that
would
bad.
Not
be
that bad.
awesome.
Not that bad.
Let's consider that though.
But any kind of slip-on is
Okay,
is my
You're a
jam.
slip-on.
Yeah.
Okay, slip-on girl. Okay, all right. Well, guys, it's gonna get a little deeper dive than shoe size. So we kind of talked pre-show about this, but Josiah, right, your youngest, he by all accounts. Is he a special needs kid by all accounts? I mean, by definition, how do they define that? I don't know.
That's a word that's hard for me to say initially.
Okay.
But yes, he is.
Okay. Why is it hard for you to do it initially?
That's just something that I've always struggled with. I've worked in human services for a long time, and saying he's, I try to minimize it a lot. Like he's just kind of delayed. He's just kind of behind. But by all means, I would say special needs.
Okay. And we kind of, again, talked a little pre-show. You guys didn't know any challenges that he was going to have or anything like that till after he was born, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And there's the dog. It's okay. It really is. It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good. Would that have changed your mind at all?
No.
And why not? Because, I mean, that's the great debate right now, at least in society and all of that, is the fact that, sometimes people find out and sometimes that might change their mind or change how they're going to approach their pregnancy. But that was never even a thought in your mind, Crystal?
We actually never even tested them in any of the pregnancies for any of the markers that show up that might tell you if your child will have special needs or have some kind of health deformity or anything, because to us it really didn't matter.
Okay. And so, Joey, what's your kind of thought on that? Crystal was mentioning that none of the kids had been tested or you guys chose not to do that. Is there any particular reason why?
I remember the moment that Crystal's doctor, OBGYN, asked that question on our oldest with Jocelyn. She asked if we wanted any testing, and immediately I said no. Like I couldn't even fathom why. Like I didn't know why. Like I couldn't think of any reasons because it's not going to change. And the doctor brought up, well, if you do discover things, you can just be prepared. You can be more informed. And even still, I said no. Like there's didn't even fathom it. Question I wasn't even ready for.
Yeah. What challenges does he currently have? Or what have you guys already walked through? Because he's
yeah.
how old now?
He will be. He'll actually be 4 the first week of September, which isn't very long. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Josiah was born blind. We didn't know that right away. It's something that I noticed just holding him. He wouldn't look at our face or focus on anything, which you've had a baby. You know, that's all they want to look at in the beginning.
Yeah.
So when I brought it up, she shined the light and his eyes wouldn't move. So he got sent to a specialist, and that was what she told us. So
in the hospital, noticing both the visual and he didn't pass the hearing tests. So you have to pass a hearing test to be discharged. The several folks come in and attempt that test, and it showed it just failed. He failed all of the hearing tests, and they did 4 or 5. We came back a couple weeks later, and he failed that one, and so then he also got sent to a specialist pretty early on.
The other thing when he was born is he was tiny. Joella, our third one, was right under 8 pounds, like an ounce away from 8 pounds. So Josiah was 5 pounds. So that was a drastic difference that we were not prepared for. And he had some feeding issues and just some issues that made him stay a little longer. And that was probably when I felt like things weren't right, I guess, if you want to put it that way.
Well, because you guys have been down this road 3 times prior. I mean,
Right.
It's not like you're rookie parents, right? First time around the track, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have done this a few times.
Yeah, he didn't want to eat and some of those things that are, important for survival. So
Yeah.
it was a stressful time for sure.
I also, looking back some of his pictures and stuff, I think we could tell just by the shape of his noggin, had some different characteristics that stood out as not, I don't want to say quote unquote normal, but
I hate that word too, by the way. Just to be clear, like when we say normal, it's like, well, what is normal?
Right.
Normal
Yeah.
to me, normal to you.
Right.
Special needs, not special. You know what I mean? And I hate those labels too, Joey. So I'm glad you're kind of dispelling those 100%. I love that. So how do you guys walk through that? Like hearing issues, blindness. I mean, how do you do that as a parent?
Well, in the beginning, I really feel like I didn't do very well with it.
Okay.
I was just a stressed out mess. What do you think? You agree?
Crystal, a stressed out mess? I don't know about that.
I would say a lot of faith, a lot of relying on God, and you just roll with the punches. You just go with it, like okay, and you figure out you just roll with the punches. You just keep swimming, if you will.
Joey used to drive me crazy because I would get really passionate about things. I want to research them and do all of this, this
So
fix it.
Your web history has a lot of WebMD on it.
No, but
Okay.
yeah, I wanted to fix whatever problems he had, right? Where Joey's like, whatever. Josiah is Josiah, and we'll love him anyways. I wanted to shake him, not Josiah, Joey.
Thank you for the clarification. I assumed it was Joey, but for the listeners, right, it was Joey. Yeah.
It was a lot of okay.
Yeah.
Finding more information on okay, but mostly okay. Let's do this. Okay.
Yeah, he's really easygoing and patient to a fault, and it kills me sometimes. Where I was I think I had a lot more anxiety with it than Joey did for sure, but
Yeah. So you guys are walking through this. How are the other kids responding to him? Because again, you have 3 now, 4 moms really. I mean, you got your oldest, the middle, and now the youngest girl, and then you, Crystal. I mean, you got he's got 4 moms running around,
does,
telling
yeah.
him what to do, showing him how to do stuff.
he does. The middle girls just loved him like they would love any other baby. Sometimes I still don't know if Jayla really realizes that he might be different than other kids his age. They just love him for who he is, and that's awesome. Jocelyn, you could definitely see, like, she was old enough to pick up on a lot of the things that were going on. She might have overheard some of our conversations and that kind of thing, and she worried a lot more.
And wanted to be more involved. So the
Yeah.
oldest, Jocelyn, she, you could tell that going to doctor's appointments and seeing some of the things that he went to was more important for her. So she would tag along to Portland with us. She would do those things, and so she would kind of see these things.
Josiah also has scoliosis, which we found around 4 months old, and it progressed to the point where he had to wear a Meta cast. It's like a body cast, basically. And I'll never forget, like, the night before we left, she was like, I want to see it. And she was looking it up. And Jayla and Joella were in the same room as us. And we spent like 30 minutes explaining it. And it comes to be the time for us to leave with them. And Jayla's like, where are you going? Like, remember this whole conversation? No, she didn't. She had no idea. So each kid has kind of handled it a lot differently than me. But
That moment I remember because I'm like, okay, stop everything. Like, let's have a conversation about
Yeah.
what's going on here.
her brother's going to come home in this body cast, and she's like, what happened?
It was
She's-
A freak skiing accident? You know, I mean,
what did you do?
you should have seen him on that slope, though, man.
right? So funny.
And then not a full body cast, so it was his torso.
No,
so
yeah,
from his
just the
armpits
torso.
to his waist to kind of straighten up the spine.
Yeah.
So-
It anchored on the hips.
So what's the greatest challenge that you guys have walked through? I mean, it sounds like you've had challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge, but I mean, is there one maybe single challenge or maybe a group of challenges that have made it more difficult or more harder than the others?
When he was, how old was he when we took him up to Portland for the MRI?
He was 3 months old.
That was the hardest moment for me. So
Yeah, I was going to say, can we walk through that?
So he, so we're hearing a lot of information. Hasn't passed the hearing test. Hasn't showed any signs of visual activity that he's connecting. That he's seeing anything. And so we're up in Portland for an MRI, and he's just this tiny little guy, and they're walking us through what the procedure is going to be like, and who his advocates are going to be during that time. And I think so. We were in the room when he was exposed to the gas that put him to sleep, just briefly. And the moment that I heard his heart rate slow down from a consistent baby, strong, quick heartbeat, that it just got slower and slower and slower and slower, and the doctors looked a little panicky. And the nurses started moving a little more quickly, and they got a brace around his neck to just his body went a little limp, and they needed to just make sure that his head wasn't closing off his airway, and so they quickly arranged that. But then the moment of like, okay, parents go wait in the waiting room, and you're watching your 3-month-old baby roll out of the room, and you have zero control of what's going on. I'm not with him. That was one of the hardest things. And so that was a time when I had to rely on God, and probably the most emotional I've been through his birth, and finding out all the information kind of early on. So when I wasn't with him, when I couldn't see him, and I didn't know how he was doing, and just a simple minor procedure. They're just putting him to sleep to get really good pictures of his noggin, to get really good pictures of what's going on with his brain. Hardest time for me.
Crystal, what are you feeling when all that's going on?
I think I had a different perspective because I work in a hospital,
Right.
although not in any patient care roles. I'm more familiar with those tools, shall I say. I realized they were intubating him. They put a little tube down his throat after they put the brace on, and his color returned back to normal. So I felt relieved, and I was like, well, his color's back. He's no longer blue and limp, so we're probably okay. But yeah, so that probably didn't stand out real. I think it was an overall thing for me. Even still, the hardest thing for me is advocating for him. Mainly because I feel like everything's kind of a fight to make sure he has the best chance, I guess is a good way of saying it, to learn and grow and all of that stuff. And that is probably the hardest thing the hardest challenge, as far as all the little things that he's had that are big in some ways, but that has been the hardest thing for me, I guess. No? Yeah.
Maybe.
Joey has a funny look on his face.
He always has a funny look on his face. I love it. That's awesome.
I won't disagree.
What's something that's really amazing about Josiah? I'm sure there's more than one, but
Well, I mean, there's some pretty cool things that we haven't talked about yet. Josiah sees obviously really well because he got onto your phone and YouTube just like
right
that.
quick, yeah.
And that was a really amazing moment. The doctors gave us no hope of him seeing. They actually
no hope.
No hope. No smiles in the doctor's offices. No hope of him seeing.
And when does this diagnosis
for
or
the
this
first
declaration come down?
The longer you go without seeing, it could just be a delayed visual maturation. Is that what it's called?
Maturation?
Like mature.
Okay.
Maturation. Yeah. There we go.
Okay.
But the longer you go without any responses, the least likely that that's actually happening. So when he hit around 4 months old, she was thinking that your kid is blind, and that's how it is, you know.
At first she was kind of a little bit more hopeful with us. You know, some kids it just comes back and it just turns on. But this late it doesn't usually. It sounds like.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite stories to tell about his vision specifically. Do you mind if I tell it?
Nope. Go for it.
So it was around February. And I'm sitting with him on my lap. And by this time, we've had early intervention already in our home. We've had lots of meetings and doctor's appointments. So he's sitting on my lap, and I'm talking with him, singing with him, just interacting like you would any baby. And I have a little red shimmery balloon beside me. So it had to have been around Valentine's Day. Yeah. One of the girls brought home a balloon. And I'm sitting there, and it's just sitting, you know, floating above the chair. And I'm thinking, man, I think he is looking at that balloon. And so I take it from my right hand, shift it to my left hand, and as it crosses over my body, he follows the balloon. So the very first moment that I'm like, what? And so I start screaming, Crystal, he saw that. I know he saw that. So she's upstairs. She came running down. And so I do it again. So I take it from my left hand, shift it over to my right hand, and he followed it. And so that was at 5 months of age, saw for the first time. It makes me think of stories in the Bible when, like, the blind will see. And it was like, boom, first time. And it was a pretty good distance away. And so from then on it went, it was growing. His vision was just getting better and better. And so at 7 months of age, the intervention specialist, earlier intervention specialist coming into the house, had a special doctor coming into town that could do some testing to see exactly what he was seeing and where, distance and colors, all that kind of stuff. So went into that meeting saying he was seeing about 23 inches away was the closest he was seeing, and kind of the range, so kind of right in front of his face, about 23 inches away. And so went into that testing, came out, that doctor said he's seeing everything a 7-month-old baby should see. Everything a 7-month-old baby should see. So from 5 months seeing nothing to 7 months, everything.
What's their answer for that?
Praise God.
Is that what they say?
There really isn't an answer for that. That's something that we've actually learned a lot with Josiah, is the doctors don't know everything, right?
Are you kidding me?
I know, it's shocking, but it's so true. They don't know everything, and they don't have answers for everything. So Joey and I are obviously fully aware of God's grace and love for us, and his mercy on Josiah, so...
He wears glasses. He's got astigmatism now.
He doesn't see certain things all that well. Like, he'll walk off a step if he doesn't know there's a step there, like it's flat ground and some stuff like that. But he does really well for the most part.
tracking things and just using it.
He knows what YouTube icon looks like. So
He loves, he unfortunately loves YouTube.
I thought that was impressive too, and I was even saying before we started recording that I closed out of the folder that my YouTube channels or the icons in, and he went right back to that folder, knew right where it was, and knew how to get right back into that folder, which I thought on somebody else's phone, no less, right? Not even a phone that we'll say native to, right? So that was pretty cool. So, what advice would you guys give parents that are maybe have challenges with their kids, maybe very similar to you guys?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that I am not able to control 3/4 of the things that are going on, and that's okay. And so let it go. It'll work out when it works out, and rest in that.
I would say that there's tons of support out there that we could not have done what we've been able to do with Josiah without our family, without Crystal's parents and her sister, and my parents and my brothers and sisters in Colorado, and then the church. We couldn't have done what we've done with our family and been there for them without the church's support, without coworkers, and then community resources on top of that. There's support groups and information online, and just for scoliosis, there's a huge support group on Facebook, and the support that we've had in that and the information to other parents that just get it, that are there. That wear glasses and hearing aids like Josiah does. It's pretty amazing. So without the support, we couldn't do what we've done and be the parents that we are. And then relying on God for everything. Another really fun story that we have to tell is that this was our 4th kid, and he didn't have a baby shower when Crystal was pregnant. He had a sprinkle. And from that baby sprinkle, so just a light showering, right?
It was just a barbecue.
It was a barbecue. And so from that barbecue, people brought diapers. And it's like a modern day loaves and fishes for us, because honestly, we didn't buy diapers until he was 8 months old. We didn't buy Josiah a single diaper. When we went up to the closet to get a diaper out, it was always the right size. And so, no, we didn't have to purchase one single diaper because of the love that our family and our coworkers showed. And God just multiplied them up there.
I think diapers are the most expensive thing for kids. Am I wrong? It just seems like they're ridiculously expensive.
They are. That and formula. When you had to go on formula, that's how I felt. I'm like, oh my goodness.
That was tough. So how, you kind of talked about the girls, how they treat him. They kind of mom him, if you will, in a good way, and maybe sometimes even in a bad way. But he's getting a ton of attention. A ton of time with mom and dad. I mean, you talk about trips to Portland. Now, granted, they're not like zoo trips or, OMSI visits or whatever, but I mean, he's getting a ton of mom and dad time. How have the other girls adjusted to that time?
We really didn't have any, I don't remember any instances that they made it a big deal or even acted out any. They really kind of fell into our new normal relatively easily, thankfully. Do you have anything?
Just reflecting back, I would say pretty special big sisters he has, because they don't treat him any different, any more less. He is, he's never a burden to them, I don't think. Maybe some mild frustrations or when he comes in and wrecks their creations that they've built, or
But what little
That's
brother
right,
doesn't
yeah.
do that,
Yeah.
right? I
It's
mean,
only your typical
right.
little brother type thing.
little
Jocelyn will call
sibling.
him my little bother sometimes when he wants to watch a show and she's already watching one on the TV, or just your typical things.
Right. But no acting out, like you said, nobody, mad or upset or resentment, I guess
No.
is what I'm after.
No, we've really tried to be pretty easygoing about it and inclusive. If they need to come, then they can come with us. And there's been several times where Joella didn't want to stay home and she came up with me, or Jocelyn wanted to go so she can see what his doctor's appointments were like. And we try not to make it all a big deal, and we try to keep life going as normal as our normal is. So, sometimes that means going up in Portland and back in a day. But I think it's important.
That's about a 5-hour trip, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I've done it.
I've done it in about 4.5 sometimes, but
Yeah, I've done it twice in the last few months, and I'm hoping it'll be like a long time before I do that again.
that's a long day.
It is a long
Especially
day.
with kiddos.
And especially for Josiah, it's a long day.
yeah, poor guy. He's a trooper though.
He is.
So, where do you guys see his life going long term?
Sometimes I think, I don't know if he'll ever move out of the house. And other times I'm like, he can be anything he wants to be. I don't know. I don't know where God will take him. Just in the last year, he's made incredible progress. So who am I to limit what Josiah is capable of?
I've thought of it about that question quite a bit, and I don't get to answer that question. He does, and so I'm encouraged by that. I try to set things up sometimes, like with the girls. I think, especially with Jocelyn, I've planted seeds about like, all right, when we're gone, you guys are taking care of him. Or some selfish worry about, I'll be 60 and is still caring for him in a lot of ways. But I think the reality is Josiah gets to show us, and so that's exciting. And I'm honestly an overly hopeful person. I hold hope in all situations, and so I think the sky's the limit for him. But I also recognize some reality there. But I'm still hopeful, and just seeing where kids are at now, where young adults are at now, and jobs and living and the resources out there, I think he'll do okay. He'll do okay.
Do you have any goals for him? Like any goals that you'd like to maybe see him achieve? Maybe as parents, or I'm sure you have goals for all your kids, but specifically maybe him, because he's going to have a little more challenge in maybe achieving some goals.
I think that I especially just look at the short-term goals, and this is kind of like along the lines of the last question too. Like in the beginning, I just wanted him to see. That's all I cared about. I just wanted him to see. And then he mastered that. And then it's like, okay, you need to learn to crawl, right? And that took a really, really long time for him to master that. It looks hard when he tries to crawl, even still. And then it was like, okay, you need to walk. And it took him a couple years to learn to walk. And then he was walking. And now I'm like, oh, please learn to talk. That's all I want is for you to talk. And I know that if it happens, it's going to be on Josiah's time, not mine. And I feel like that is just his whole life. Who knows what he's going to be and what he's going to do, but it'll happen, and it'll just happen on his timeline and not mine.
You might not want him to talk. I was really late developing and talking. You guys know my mom, so you can verify the story. But I was late talking as well. And now, look at me, Crystal. So
that's true. You do talk
careful.
an awful lot.
Be careful. Be careful what you hope for. Joey, what about you? Any goals as a dad that you'd love to see him maybe achieve, or
I really appreciated Crystal's perspective there. Just
that I did
about,
too. It was great.
That's so right
it was
on.
So awesome. Very well.
Meet him
Very
where
well.
he's at,
Yeah.
and just looking at the next thing.
Yeah.
Just looking at the next thing. I don't have anything
That's
beyond what
that's
Crystal
okay.
said.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's all right. Yeah. So guys, how do people treat you guys in public? Is it any different than anyone else? I mean, do you feel like you're looked at, or people are like, oh, well, look at those guys, or I mean, look at their kid. I mean, do you hear whispers or anything like that? I hope not, but maybe.
No, and honestly, people are people, and I'm not going to let them upset me. They just don't know. They don't know our story. They don't know where we're at, and that's fine. I also think that if they want to know our story, we will tell them. You know, there's this sweet little girl, and she was like maybe 2 years old or something at Hobby Lobby, and she was fascinated with Josiah. He had his hearing aids and glasses on, which doesn't happen all the time. So, you know, he was pretty stinking cute, if I say so. She comes up to him and she just tries to hug him. And Josiah is probably the most loving person I've ever met. And Josiah just hugs her back, like a little confused look, and he hugs her back, and she just is like petting him and she's like, what's my name? And her mom's like, no, it's what's your name? And so she's like, what's your name? And I said, oh, Josiah doesn't talk, but his name is Josiah. And she's like, hi, Josiah. And she's just like so enamored with him. And the mom the whole time is like, what do I do? Do I pull him away? Do I, like wondering how to react to her daughter just loving on Josiah. And I'm like, she's fine. She's totally fine. He loves it.
Did you get her number? I mean,
right? I know.
Just,
like a new BFF for him or something.
There you go. Play dates or whatever.
But, I think it's just I like to look at it like people just don't understand where we're at, and that's all right. And if they want to, we will tell them, and we'll let them interact with them as much as they want to, because he loves it. He's probably the most loving and social little boy that I've ever known. So
I was blown away. Like, I haven't seen him in a while. And when I came over today, he's just like, oh, of course I set all my stuff down. I dump out my pockets, and he's just, look at all this stuff. And of course, as we're setting up today, he's all like wanting to get in on the gadgets and gear that you were talking about. And he's really into that stuff. And so that to me was really cool to kind of see that interaction. And that's awesome. So, by the way, he is here. He's with his sisters. He is okay.
Yeah,
so I just want everyone to know that he's okay. He's being well taken care of. So.
To go back to your question, to answer that, for me, I don't think I've ever noticed any whispers or weird looks, but out in public, I really have made it an effort to try to tell his story and to tell others how big and how much of a blessing he is to us, and what God has done with him and where he's brought him so far. When we named him Josiah, from the Bible, I was worried. Man, what's his story going to be? Not to get all kind of wacky, but what's his story going to be? Because Josiah brought a nation back to God in the Old Testament. And I think that's the biggest lesson for me now, is to constantly to see how he's changed us through Josiah, and what he's doing in our lives as a family, and to tell people about that, and why talking on your show on this awesome podcast that we can share his story and celebrate that.
Has he brought you as a family? I mean, not that you ever left God, but has he, in a sense, brought you closer to God in a lot of respects?
For me,
like his namesake would say, right?
Honestly, when he was born, I was really nervous about naming him that, even though we had talked about naming him that for months. It took us all 3 days or longer to actually write it down on this certificate, because Josiah means God will heal. There's another meaning that I am spacing right now. Do you remember?
No. I don't.
But I'm like, what is God going to heal him from? I don't know if I want to name him that. Like, what does he need healed from? Maybe I should name him something that just means like joy or something like that.
Or laughter, like Jacob. That's
right?
Exactly.
J name. That would have worked.
Jacob.
That would have worked. But then I just really felt that we were
Or
called to.
Isaac. I guess Isaac's laughter. Sorry, I messed that up.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not going to look it up. Anyway.
But no, I think that's awesome. I mean, because I mean, we could go down that rabbit hole a little bit, but I think that when we name people, especially, you're talking about, Bible names and things like that, when you got your name, I mean, that was kind of a big thing, it meant something, and so I think that's great that you guys took that into consideration. You're like, man, what, you're putting a lot of pressure on him in a sense to do amazing things based on his name.
Right. And I was really afraid of that and afraid of what that implication might be because we thought about it with the girls, but I don't remember it being as heavy on my heart, the implication that name might bring. And I just remember just this weight on me of feeling like, what in the world is going to be happening? And then just seeing that through and learning what faith really means in that process was pretty incredible for me because I had anxiety and I worried and I didn't sleep well and I, what XYZ after that for several months after he was born. And then I was so anxious and worried about him that I didn't even feel like I could pray. But that's where Joey was talking about our community. They were praying, and I just rested in that. Well, even though I don't have the words right now, I know that they're praying for me. And just being on the other side of that now where we've seen God move in so many amazing ways. Like Josiah falls a lot, and he's out there with the helmet now, so you don't have to worry about him falling outside. But that has been something that we've really tried to rest in, that God loves him even more than we do. And no matter how much I try to protect him, I can't. But God does love him more than I do. And whether he lives 30 years or 100 years, God's going to use his story to glorify him, and I don't need to worry about it.
Amen.
I was like, you can't follow that. I don't care what you got. You got nothing on that. Nope, not at all, right? Greatest advice you guys got along the way? Was there any?
It was important for me to hear don't compare. Don't compare him to others.
Why would that be so important to you? I mean, I know the obvious, but maybe it's not so obvious. Disappointment,
judging, just don't compare, and coming back to where he's at, where his strengths are, where his joy is, and his lovability. You can't compare that to anybody else or where anybody else is at, or on mile markers that we put out there. We're just not going to see it. So
I think that's a great lesson in life, just in general, whether you have a kid with health concerns or not, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Okay. So just not comparing. Okay, yes. Crystal, how about you?
I think my biggest advice is just to try to enjoy where you're at. We've gotten to enjoy each baby stage and toddler stage longer than most people get to with their babies. And instead of just focusing on where he is lacking, like Joey was saying, or where he needs to move on, I've just really tried to love the moments and cherish those times, because just like other kids, he's going to grow out of it. And all these fun things about him I want to remember and I want to find joy in. And I think that's true with every parent. I mean, I'm sure you remember those times with Adia when she was smaller. And
I do. Yeah. And even now, she'll be 12 actually at the end of this week. June 28th, she'll be 12. So we're struggling. I'm struggling with that because
12, I'm learning, is going to be hard. Yeah.
I might go back to that toddler stage. That kind of sounds fun, though. I don't know why.
Having both, having like a preteen and a
you're
toddler.
In that boat. Yeah.
They're actually a lot alike.
Weird.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they
Super
do a lot of the
weird.
same things.
Weird.
The 12-year-old has a lot more words, though, but
To
they still throw
articulate.
fits.
Yeah.
Still temper tantrums.
Yes, they do. Even the 39-year-old children still throw temper tantrums. So just
Once in a while, probably.
put that out there too. So, guys, I want to kind of start wrapping things up a little bit. Thank you guys again for being on the show. I appreciate that. Giving up some time away from not only the kids. Joe, you like walked in the door and we're like, let's go, let's do this. So that's awesome. Thanks.
This has
for
been
that.
great. I really enjoyed it.
Good. I hope so. So why did you guys, we kind of talked about it kind of jokingly in the beginning, but why did you guys want to do this? Because I asked you, and like I said, there was some apprehension, but in the end, what won out?
We didn't talk very much when Josiah was born and we were going through all of those struggles. We didn't share our story very much. And I really feel like that was a time that was missed out because not everyone experienced our struggles, but they didn't experience our victories either. And I feel like God gave us a story to share. He didn't want us just hold up where no one knows what's going on. God wants us to share what's going on in our lives. So that's why I wanted to do it.
That's really funny because I'm thinking the same thing. And Crystal and I didn't talk about this. So you had a couple of different invitations
I did.
going.
I had Crystal first, and then I was going on the backside with you. Because
Yes.
you even alluded to the fact that like I'm playing both sides of the
Yes.
fence, which is so true because I do that quite often.
It's like mom said it was okay. Like if dad says it's okay.
Exactly.
But that's exactly the same reason that I would say because Josiah's story needs to be told in a small way. We're not any special family. We're not any great family. We're not suffering from
You're
anything.
not celebrities.
We're not. But
well, I mean, you are, but you're
but
not.
to see and to tell God or to tell others how God worked and is working in our lives again, like that's number one. And to talk about it. I mean. Looking back, we didn't think about there he is right now.
Yeah.
We didn't share like with our home group at church. We didn't with church. I think we sheltered him, not intentionally, kind of accidentally.
You're getting real life right now. We're not cutting this. So
Oh,
we're gonna go.
that's great.
We're gonna go.
His shirt is wet. He got sprayed with a hose. It sounds like.
That's awesome. That's great.
So the 6-year-old sprayed the toddler with the hose. Man, who's watching them? But just the importance of telling his story, and I think that's why. They all want popsicles.
They all want popsicles. I told them if they were really good, I'd bring them a prize, and I mean that. I will. I'll bring some prizes by. I think they've been great. Really,
They've really been
They've really been great. So
best dad advice I have out there.
Yeah,
Two
go
things.
for it. Yeah.
Popsicles fix almost anything, as well as Band-Aids. I always keep a Band-Aid in my wallet for instances. Like right now, I have a Minion Band-Aid because there's a lot of situations out and about that Minion Band-Aid totally fixes.
Whether there's blood or not, whether
Correct.
there's a scratch or not.
Correct.
We're putting a Band-Aid on invisible wounds maybe that we can't see with our eyes.
Minions, Princess, we'll do anything. Yeah,
Barbie,
absolutely.
You have no... It doesn't matter.
They can fix a situation.
So now what happens if it gets used? Then do you go back to like the Band-Aid thing and like, put an extra one in there? Or is there always one no matter what?
Right now, I think I have 3 Band-Aids in my wallet.
Okay.
I'm prepared.
You're prepared for any situation. You're like a Boy Scout,
Well,
right?
not any situation,
Okay.
but yeah.
Like tourniquet. Just throw a Band-Aid on it. Just we're good. We're good. So, Joey, you're obviously your dad's still around, right?
Yes.
What dad moment do you want to have with Josiah that maybe you had with your dad too? And have you had that dad moment with him yet?
Man, that's tough.
Because I'm thinking like with my dad, I haven't had it yet. Not that I'm a big drinker, but I would love one day to have a beer with my dad, on a hot summer day. That hasn't happened yet. So I don't know, not necessarily that per se, but I mean, is there that one moment that you're looking forward to maybe having with him?
So I would say with my dad, there was a conversation after college, when I got into college, that I realized I was not as smart as I thought I was. But
He's okay, Crystal.
Okay.
Yeah, he's okay.
I would say moments that I'm looking forward to.
Sure.
Right now, it's funny that we were just talking about that. What's in our pockets. I think that's going to be my podcast. What's in your pockets?
Nice. I will come on and talk about what's in my pockets. Because as you can see, I have a lot. I always have a lot. So.
You can cut that out.
Yeah.
My dad for a long time was an elementary school teacher, third grade. But I can remember him always carrying a Leatherman, the original leather case Leatherman, fold out, super cool utility knife and pliers, and so I remember him wearing that when I would go and visit him in school and at his school. And to this day, I keep a Leatherman in my pocket. I have the pliers and the knife and stuff. And so those things that he's passed on to me aren't just one moment in time, one thing. And so I have my dad's, though he's still around, he's still alive. He turned 70 on Jocelyn's birthday. Jocelyn was born on his 70th birthday. So this year he'll be 82. But I have his original Leatherman multi-tool in the leather case in a suitcase in my closet, and I think that's what I want to pass on to Josiah, the multi-tool. It sounds super funny, it sounds super lame as I'm talking about it, but to pass on multiple things, to walk that with him, I think I'm looking forward to.
No, I think I get your analogy, right? Not just maybe the physical tool, but the Leatherman, right? The actual object, but pass along those tools along the way that you've learned from your dad to pass that along to him.
Yes.
I like it. Josiah does join us at the table, so you might hear him in the background. Crystal, just the last thought, if you have one from a mom perspective, what do you hope to pass along to him from a mom standpoint?
I don't know necessarily. The one thing that I hope, though, is that Josiah knows that we loved him as much as we loved his sisters his entire life. I hope he never realizes he is different than anyone else because we love him the same.
Yeah. All right.
And to be perfectly honest, I think he's taught us more than we'll ever be able to teach him.
For sure.
Yeah. Greatest lesson he's taught you guys? We'll close with that.
To
that
love
he personally
that
has
he
taught
has?
you. Yeah, that he personally has taught you.
He has taught me to love everyone just for who they are because he loves everyone. So it's really fun to see. He doesn't care who you are, what you've done, where you've been. He loves you just for who you are.
Yeah.
I would say the joy that he has for everything, and his smile. His smile and his joy.
Nice. He's on YouTube, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I thought. So I have a die here. So Joey, you can roll first.
Oh.
And we're going to play a game called Senseless. And yeah. So you're going to roll, and then based on what you roll, you get to answer the question. It's kind of a fun little way to end the show. So you got a 3?
3.
Greatest thing you've ever smelled?
Greatest thing I've ever smelled?
Yes.
Greatest thing I've ever smelled.
I could only think of things that
Yeah, that
are
stink.
the opposite. Yeah.
I think it'd have to be food related. Okay. So Crystal's apple pie around Thanksgiving. It's pretty stinking good.
Okay. All right. All right, Crystal, your turn. You get to roll. Parenting never ends,
It
by the way.
doesn't.
Just so
No.
everyone knows. You got a 5? Uh-oh. 5.
Why am I scared?
You should be. Favorite thing to taste?
Favorite
You
thing
guys
to
both got
taste?
kind of food questions.
It must be dinner time.
Must be.
Favorite thing to taste?
Good news, guys!
Ice cream.
There it is. What kind of ice cream? Do you have a certain flavor you like?
Oh, I really like. Oh my goodness, what is it that I like?
Oreo.
Oreo, yeah.
Okay.
You know where they have that Oreo cookies like mashed in it.
Oh, yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah.
I like it. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much. Josiah, thank you. Thanks, buddy. Do you want to say anything?
You say hello.
You say hi?
No?
No.
Maybe?
Not today.
He's a little too shy.
Say dad.
It's like, if you were on
Nope.
YouTube, Dad, we would be good to go.
Right?
Guys, thank you so much. Again, I really appreciate it. I really loved hearing the story and the kids and all the interaction and the craziness that is your guys' house.
They did pretty
It's awesome.
good. They
They
waited
did great.
quite
We-
a while.
Joey and I were commenting on that while you were gone, being the mom. Crystal, I love your shirt. I'm going to make mention of your shirt. It's going to be all right.
Yep.
Is that really like the mantra of the Wines house?
It is for me. I like to be reminded that, you know what? It's going to be all right.
It's going to be all right.
Yeah.
All right.
I saw the shirt and I had to buy it. It's a good reminder for me, you know.
It's going to be all right. That's awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much. This, of course, has been Other People's Shoes. We encourage you to continue to listen, invite your friends to do likewise. And we always like to say, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. And we want to thank Joey and Crystal, and of course, little Josiah as he hangs out with us in this last part. But again, guys, thank you so much for being a part of it and continue to listen. Thank you so much for joining us on Other People's Shoes. Of course, you know I'm your host, Neil Matthews. Guys, thank you so much for joining us this week. I don't know about you. I still am. I just love Joey and Crystal. Love hearing their amazing story. Guys, they are great parents. They really are. They have a lot of chaos, a lot of things going on in their life. But again, they still find reason to smile. And let that be the challenge for you this week. What reasons do you have to smile? What reasons do you have to keep moving forward? It does sound a little cliche and a little whatever, but I mean it. What do you have? Look around your world. It is Thanksgiving, after all, coming up soon, so what do we have to be thankful for? By the way, here's my daughter to tell you about our Thanksgiving promotion, if you will. Adia?
Thanks, Dad. Come be a part of the Other People's Shoes November giveaway presented by Southern Oregon Runners Club. A family or friend 4-pack with race entry and shirts for the Turkey Trot Run on Thanksgiving Day, Thursday, November 28th. To enter, comment on the picture of my dad and host Neil Matthews in a turkey suit. That can be done at facebook.com under Other People's Shoes. For a second entry, follow us on Instagram and comment on the picture of Neil in a turkey suit costume with hashtag TurkeyTrot19. For a third entry into this giveaway, follow us on Twitter and be sure to comment on the picture of Neil in a turkey suit costume with hashtag TurkeyTrot19. Join us next Wednesday for the Road to Redemption. Remember, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective in life. Join us next Wednesday. Till then, have a great week.